We are on a mission to inform, educate, and mobilize our communities, and really excited that you all are tuning in. Please share the BNET Radio app with your friends. You can download it on iTunes, Google Play, and it's a free app, and you can tune in immediately. Once you download it, you press on the app, it starts playing at any given time, and of course join us behind the scenes live on Facebook. You can also find us on the BNET. If you haven't already subscribed to BNET on Facebook, please feel free to like and share the page. And so what else can I say? There's been a lot of things going on this week, well, as with the last several weeks. And one of the cool things, here he is.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
One of the cool things is, I'm sure everybody by now has heard that the Astros are going to start playing. I think July 24th?
What's that?
July 24th or 25th?
What's that?
The Astros.
Yes, somewhere in the neighborhood. They're going to start trying to play again. Yes.
Cool. Well, we're not
I know, we're not young.
we're not broadcasting yet, but we are live. So, Ralph, why don't you tell us a little bit about your show? Your sports.
Come on every day, 5 to 7 p.m. KCOH Radio, 12:30 a.m. Facebook Live.
Been there for 200 years.
Been there for a moment, yes. Been blessed. And that's every day, Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on KCOH 12:30 a.m. Also KCOH The Source. And we talk about sports 90% of the time and 10% some other things, including the president. So, and we look forward to doing this show with you.
So, we were joking around before we went live that our producer, Art Lopez, is out of town. Hi, Art, if you're watching us. But he's not here, so we're going to go a little rogue today. And,
well, we don't have him here to produce and supervise and try to coach.
What is that saying that you beg for permission later, or no? Instead of asking permission, you beg for forgiveness later.
Right? You beg for forgiveness later. So we know he's watching somewhere wherever he is, and we wish him a safe trip back and forth, a very, very safe trip at this time.
Absolutely. And wear your mask.
And I have mine. See, I have mine. I have one of the best masks around.
Let me see.
And this is the swag. And
all right.
And it's probably the most comfortable. You can hear me, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, this is a real good mask, good material, and fits the face well. People can hear you, but I'm not going to sit up in here for the next 45, 50 minutes with this mask on. Right. But this is a good mask, and we go along with the commissioner.
Yeah.
The doggo who's stressing this.
I'm really impressed. I really like that because I can hear you very clearly.
Well, this is the best one I've ever had.
Yeah, it's been one of my obstacles is finding a mask that you can speak through and hear people through.
And feel comfortable wearing it.
Yeah, because they get so
breathe.
hot. And
breathe. That's what I'm talking about.
That's important.
Right.
To be able to breathe.
Right. But our engineer is here. This man he's like a dinosaur in the business. He was here before man.
Older than dirt.
Older than dirt, before man, and he's here to produce the program today. So we should have a lot of fun in regards to sharing information and just throwing some things around and helping people. And you still have time to go get a COVID test if you haven't had one. I know Delmar Stadium is one of the sites that's open right now that you can go to. Yes, and do your thing.
I'm coming on. Day Biondi live from the Houston Mothership Studios of BNET Radio. It's time for Hot Topics Live. Stick around. We got Sonia Rivera, Ralph Cooper in the studio.
That's true. Okay, now we got Dave. So, I'm hoping that maybe next week, so we did have our special guest today was going to be Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez. Unfortunately, because of the weather, we didn't know what it was going to look like, so we did reschedule him for next Thursday.
I'll let you say you do all that.
Yeah, so he won't be here today. He'll be here next Thursday, so we have a little extra time. But there are nonetheless a lot of things going on in the community, both with the police and we do have elections coming up, which are very important. And again, one of the main reasons for doing this show is because we want to educate, inform, and mobilize our communities. We've been silent for far too long, and we saw with the protests that there's a lot of unresolved issues in our communities, and we really want people to make informed decisions and be kind to one another, treat each other with respect, and while still addressing the issues that need to be addressed. And I think that as citizens of Houston, a lot of people think that their vote doesn't count, and we really need to ensure that people are voting, because it really does count. For everyone that thinks that their vote doesn't count, it turns into hundreds and thousands that don't go out and vote. And now with COVID, our fear is that voter turnout is going to be even lower. So keep watching us live. BNET Radio, just an FYI, reaches over 750,000 people, not only in the Houston area, but at the surrounding Houston areas. And it's also heard nationally. And honestly, if you're halfway around the world and you have the BNET app, you can hear us over there too. So be sure to download the app and share it with your friends. There really is power in numbers. So the more people we have listening, getting informed, the more power that our communities have.
30 seconds.
Oh, okay.
And make sure you get close.
Talk to the mic.
BNET Radio, a vital force in the town and music industry. And this is Hot Topics. We got a couple of hot items here in the studio, as a matter of fact. This for us?
Yes, please.
Here says live video interrupted. So for our listeners, we also live stream on Facebook. So right now we're still kind of playing with the cameras and playing with I'm playing with the cameras, but so thanks everybody for joining us. I just want to say how important it is that you join in the conversation. And I was just mentioning offline that hopefully within the next couple of weeks, and I don't know if I finished my statement, but hopefully in the next couple of weeks we want to start having callers call in, because we want to actually hear from the community and not just talk to you, but talk with you, speak with you, and hear what your concerns are. The objective of the show is to educate, inform, and mobilize. So we want you all to be part of the conversation so that we can encourage our decision makers, our legislator, and all decision makers from local to national, that our communities are a force to be reckoned with, and silent no more is kind of my favorite hashtag.
Well, I want to just jump right in. I want to say hello to the governor. Are you familiar with the Ali Shuffle? When Muhammad Ali was at the top of his game in boxing, he had what he called was the Ali Shuffle. And the governor, we want to give the governor of Texas today, Governor Albert, right?
Abbott.
Governor Abbott. We want to give you the Muhammad Ali, the Ali Shuffle Award. Remember he was talking about opening up everything? And now he's doing what? He's
slowing it down.
He's pausing. He said, let's slow it down a little bit. Remember Commissioner Hidalgo and the Mayor Turner was saying wear the mask, etc. And he was a guy saying, hey, go to the beach, take your shirt off, Dave, and
put your Speedo on.
Yeah, and look at what has happened now. And we are 97% of the hospital beds are taken in the area, although 4 of the largest hospitals here in the Houston area claim that they can deal with the COVID-19 situation if it increases anymore here.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Well, I'm a little rebellious and hard-headed, and so I don't listen all the time, and I kind of have to gather all the information and make a judgment.
So you didn't
based
listen to
on
the governor? You put your mask on?
Even though I am hard-headed, I'm not so naive to think that I'm invincible. So I do avoid large crowds, and I do go out quite frequently, but I do avoid crowds, and I do use safety precautions. So I am in agreement that you know, we need to take every precaution possible. And while I do wear a mask begrudgingly, I wear it because you know, the people around me, you know, I care about the people around me, and I certainly don't want to be responsible for someone else getting sick. And the virus seems to be mutating, and just, you know, it's just evolving. And so people are having, you know, even when they recover, I was reading an article yesterday where people are having long-term effects, like really weird stuff, you know, so maybe resulting in a heart condition or long-term pulmonary issues. So, you know, you gotta use safety precautions. You can be hard-headed, trust me, I'm the most hard-headed person most people know, but you have to be safe.
But now, what do you think, we have there are 3 states, Texas, Florida, and California, that are really jumping off the radar in regards to the numbers going up, in regards to people testing positive for COVID-19. Now, the deaths seem to be down to a degree, but the cases are going up. So do you see another can Texas afford another shutdown?
God, I hope not. You know, economically, I don't think we can. I really don't think that we can. And I think that, you know, the whole point of, you know, being a conservative, and I'm saying this to my conservative friends, is that we want limited government. We believe in personal responsibility. So that said, take personal responsibility and be safe, you know, because we're each responsible for our own behavior and responsible for spreading the virus to others, or you know, acquiring the virus. So we have to take responsibility for our actions, and we can't shut down the government. But we have to, you know what, basic hygiene, wear your mask, you know, don't go around large crowds, respect your family, you know, have respect, and you know, we all love our families. So remember that whatever we're acquiring when we're out in the street, we're taking home to our families.
Well, I go to some of the places in the black part of Houston.
You don't go to the Mexican part?
Yes, I go. I love El Tempo. Give them a little light hit. So you go to these places and you see people not distancing themselves, but they're all on top of each other, outside restaurants or wherever, clubs, bars, etc. Is that happening in the Hispanic neighborhood, Spanish neighborhood?
You know, every place that I've been, El Tiempo, and
White
I
people
mean,
don't do that kind of stuff.
yeah,
Do they?
no,
White people don't do that. Do they? I don't know. White people don't.
I've been frequenting places with patios. I have gone to the beach, but not on top of anybody. You know, we keep our distance. You know, I don't want people breathing on me, but I don't like people breathing on me anyway. You know, people are too close. I'm kind of like, you know, I mean, you gotta respect my personal space, and my personal space is a little wider now.
But see, when you're talking about 100 or 200 plus people,
Oh yeah, I
trying
don't
to get
go.
into a place and no mask,
Yeah,
even the little children,
yeah. No,
all outside of the place.
I don't go places where there's 200 people at all.
I was just passing by. I don't think I stopped.
Yeah.
You know, but I'm passing by and I see all the people, and then you wonder, who are they listening to?
Right.
What are they listening to? And then I came to the conclusion, maybe most of them were listening to the governor, what's his name again?
Abbott. Governor Abbott.
Governor Abbott, who's indicated everything was wide open, everything was safe. Now, again, he's backpedaling and causing, you know, he's talking, in my opinion, semi-shutdown.
Yeah.
But people ignored two of the closest people to them. I mean, in this area, the mayor and the commissioner, who kept saying, put the mask on, be safe.
Well, you know, I think the governor was counting, when you reopen the economy, obviously there's so many things to, reopen the state, there's so many things to consider as the economy, and that's the governor's job, is to ensure economic stability of our state.
Right.
So I don't know that he ever said it's safe. I think that what he expected was that people would be responsible, and unfortunately that hasn't happened. So unfortunately, when people don't take responsibility for their actions, we have this overwhelming.
Have you ever thought about running for an office?
Actually, I thought about it last year.
Yeah, well, whatever. Hey, listen, I got a little something, a couple of things.
Absolutely.
You know, one of the things is we've really upscaled the amount of testing.
Right.
And, you know, on a ratio of the people who are really serious and those that are, you know, have contacted it, the ratio is still there. It's just that there's more numbers because there's more people being tested. That's the way I see it anyhow. And, you know, when you look at why there are so many people that have it, and I'm probably going to really upset some folks here, but, you know, if the government was really serious about not letting people contact this, you know, why did they let all the protests happen? You cannot tell me that the protests are not one of the reasons why we are just inundated with positive tests.
Well, see, you stole my thunder, because that's one of the ways I was going to go. Because think about this: you shut down the rodeo after what, about a week,
Yeah.
and you shut the
11
rodeo
days.
down because of the numbers. And we come back, and in respect of George Floyd and what had happened in his death and murder, we have this big rally. They say it was 60,000 people, but it looked more like 100,000. And the city was involved, they okayed it, the county was involved. And now we have, like Dave said, the numbers are going up. More people are being tested, of course. But a lot of people who were at those protests, from what I saw from a distance on television, didn't have masks on.
Yeah.
Sonia?
I don't know that you could have stopped it though. I mean, I'm not condoning it, because I thought it was, you know, I was amazed, and one of my biggest, I think I mentioned it last week,
Yeah.
my biggest issue was that, you know, people were prohibited from having funerals, and people were prohibited from visiting their loved ones who were under quarantine, or visiting their loved ones in the hospital, and they died alone, yet we have 60,000 people downtown. So I was a little, you know, not that I didn't think it was a good cause, but I was a little, you know, you're never going to get that time back with your loved ones, and think of the fear that your loved ones went through and the isolation that they felt, and yet, you know, we gathered 60,000 plus. But I don't know that you could have stopped the protesters.
Well, but at that time you had to get an okay from the city to have it, or the county to have it, and that's what, maybe it should have been postponed. I mean, I know the momentum and the sympathy was at its highest at that particular point in regard to the funeral, coming here on the last, the third leg of the funeral, and you wanted to show your support. Many of us wanted to show our support, but for health reasons, I'm like Dave again. Was that really the right thing to do? And I guess we're going to find out here in the next few weeks,
Yeah.
in regards to how many of those people who are now testing positive were downtown.
We have to take responsibility for our actions. So one of the things that's really bothering me is the finger pointing, you know, and saying blood is on any particular individual's hands. Because, you know, if you were out there and exposed yourself because you were either visiting, I don't know, you had to have been exposed to it. So whatever you did, if it was no, you know,
Take a break.
take a break. Personal responsibility. That's my final word. That's my final word.
All right. We're gonna break here just a little bit. Got a commercial to run, and then we're gonna play Ralph's Salinas. So.
I said thank you. I didn't have to ask you this time.
That's right.
You get a bonus. I've got a cookie for you.
All right. Here we go on BNET Radio.
We're gonna make you do the washing machines. I think,
Oh.
yeah. One of these days, we're gonna get Ralph Cooper dancing. So continue the conversation live. I really do. It's playing live on BNET, on the BNET Facebook station, as well as mine, right? So what we really want to hear what you all have to say, and unfortunately the camera is like so far away from me that I really can't see what your comments are. But we will start taking calls. Can we do it next week?
Next week.
What do you think? So next week we'll start taking calls, and we'll post the numbers so that people can call in, because we really do want to hear from you. Again, we don't want to talk at you. We want to have this conversation with you, and I think that for us to have real change in our communities in the Houston, Harris County area, everybody needs to be involved in the conversation. Ralph, historically, like, how do you think that the Black community comes out to vote in good numbers?
November? Yes. I think in November they're going to.
This November.
This November they're going to show up.
What about historically?
About who?
Historically, like, do you think that the voter turnout is pretty good?
It would be much larger than it was for the Hillary Clinton presidential effort. I think it's going to go more like what happened with Obama, in my opinion.
Do you think that there's is there like a lot of fear about coming out to vote because of COVID?
There may be some, but I think they're willing to take that chance, like the people did with the show of support of the Floyd family.
Okay.
In regards to George Floyd. I think they're going to, here in Houston, I think they're going to take that chance.
So one of the interesting conversations I always have with my Black friends is that they think that Hispanics are very united and very, there's a perception that each community has of the other. So from your perspective, what do you think the Black community's perception of the Hispanic community is?
Somewhat like what you just said.
Really?
Pro-Hispanic, pro-unity, etc.
And that's very interesting that you say that, because I always think that our perception in the Hispanic community is that Blacks come out and vote and really, support each other.
But look at the numbers. When you're talking about 28% of the registered Black voters in Houston voted the last time out. So what happens to the 72%?
Yeah.
So it's a good debate, but I think it goes back to something some people say all the time. We're all human.
We're all human.
And there's not that much difference when you really look at it, except when people preach hate.
Yeah. And I'm glad you said that, because that's one of the things that I think we touched on before, is that when, I equate it to when Hurricane Harvey came. When we talk about race relations, we segregate ourselves according to race, color, religion, party affiliation, and I just think that we need to slow down and remember that we are all part of the master race, the human race, because what we saw in Harvey was that when people were in trouble, we helped. And we didn't stop to ask people's political affiliations or religious affiliations, what color they were. We just helped. And so I think that when it comes to anything that we do in our everyday to-day lives, is that we need to remember that.
Right. I agree. It's like George Foreman says, we're all part of the human race.
Absolutely. All God's children.
Hang on. That is Selena for Ralph Cooper. I always take care of Ralph.
Thank you,
Gotta
Dave.
Take care of Ralph,
I went to a show accidentally and fell in love.
There's nothing wrong with that. Let me
Yes.
tell you, there's hot topics right now here on BNET Radio for the next 40 minutes or so. And we have Sonia Rivera and Ralph Cooper with us. And carry on, y'all.
So one of the things that I want to ask you about is that crime. So we have seen crime increase exponentially in the last 6 months. Our murder rate in Houston, Harris County is already what it was at the end of 2019. So in 6 months, it's reflecting the numbers that it was reflecting for an entire year last year. We've been talking about the need for police officers, and one of my other issues is that the court system and the judicial system. So we have bond reform, which I'm not sure if you all are familiar with the details of it, but basically the bond reform was meant for individuals who could not afford bond to not be held for the same charge just because they couldn't afford a bond. But the bond was created so that, for many reasons, and it was actually, I had the opportunity to speak with Mary Nan Huffman this morning, who's running for Harris County District Attorney. And so she explained really why the bond was created, and obviously we've deviated so far away from that, but so we needed reform. However, what's happening now is that criminals, violent offenders are being released back out into the street. So what are your thoughts on the bond reform?
Well, recently you had an 80-year-old lady who was murdered by a guy who had been locked up 67 times.
Yeah.
And he ended up stabbing her. He ended up getting a big reward and sent on a trip one way, not to the heavens. And
Yeah.
but the issue is a very delicate one, but in my opinion, you cannot just, you have to do a better job of screening who you're going to allow to have those bails.
Thank you.
Because like you said, some people are getting out who shouldn't see the outside world because they're going to do wrong.
Right.
And so we don't want any more crimes like that, but the crime rate is up 46%, or it was, it may be higher than that now, 46% of what it was last year.
Yeah.
And you go to, you got ladies, they see you come in a warm up and now you got a mask on and they hugging their purses, you all hugging your purses like some of us were not going to do anything to you. Like we're going to jerk your purse away from you.
Right.
You know, try to get your keys away from you, etc. So hopefully in the latter part of the year, more can be done in regards to the crime. But see, you also have the domestic. I mean, you have relationship type crimes going
Sure.
on.
The domestic violence
Yes.
is crazy. The
Yeah.
numbers have exponentially increased.
Right. So.
Yeah, I think crimes against children, obviously, because children are at home, and that was always one of the concerns, is that sometimes school was the only safe place for children to go. So obviously those crimes have risen. Child hunger, domestic violence, for so many reasons. I mean, it already existed, and now people are in close quarters with each other and for longer periods of time. And I really want to, you absolutely hit the nail on the head that we have to do a better job of screening. And so, again, going back to voting, is that we really need to make informed decisions, because there are judges currently on the bench who, one in particular, and I won't call him out by name today, but I will at some point. But there is one in particular that feels it's unconstitutional to take somebody's criminal history into account prior to releasing him. And so he's just basically releasing them. And because our court system is so backed up that individuals, even violent offenders, are not going to see a courtroom for 2 to 3 years. So that means that a violent offender is going to be on the street, but most likely committing another crime. And I'm a psychology major, so statistically speaking, people who commit a person-to-person crime are going to commit another person-to-person crime. So they're more likely to be the violent offenders, as opposed to the guy who steals something from Walmart. It's a whole different property crimes. There's a whole different part of the human psyche than people who commit crimes on other persons.
And you see a lot of stuff happening at night. Think about it. I mean, we had, I think it was last night, a gentleman was in a bar with 2 other people, and then they find him later on dead. I mean, you see all of these type of things. You see a fireman taking his life and his lady's life, and then you see another guy who allegedly discovers the baby is not his. He decides to knife the mother who's 7 months pregnant, and some other members of the family. The mother who's 7 months pregnant, and the baby ends up dying. All of that, I mean, you see all of that happening in regards to the crime thing.
Right.
They go back to the domestic crime. Now, do you think domestic crime has increased because of the virus and the lockdown? Do you think people just didn't know each other? And then all of a sudden they're on top of
Oh
each
my
other.
God, I don't like this person anymore.
Right.
I think the propensity for violence is already within a person. And, I think that it's exacerbated because there's more opportunity. There's a lot of people laid off, where, I know this is going to sound horrible, but perhaps, the only contact two people had in their household was after work, where now
Right.
perhaps
they
the
were
individual...
going 15, 16 hours a day.
Where now perhaps the individual laid off and they're 24/7. So the opportunity, it's more of, I think, opportunity and being stuck in close quarters longer period of time.
Okay, and then see, but with the talk of a second virus, with the virus increasing and a second lockdown here in the Houston area, the state of Texas, it really makes you wonder, can we get through that?
Yeah.
I mean, with crime up already, 46% or whatever, and with the way things are, and people running out of money,
Yeah.
and drug deals gone bad because the drug dealer doesn't get his money, and he decides to take things and matters into his her own hands and do their thing on the street. So it's really a bad time.
It really is, and I think it goes back to the shutdowns that we were just talking about. There's so many things to take into consideration when we're talking shutdown. You know, obviously you have to keep communities safe, but then again, you know what, for some of these individuals that have had to endure that, you know, that kind of abuse or you know, having lived with somebody who is violent already, you know, it's exacerbated with being in close quarters, and then property crimes, obviously, what you're talking about, is going to increase as desperation increases.
So then we come up to where we are now. What restaurants are closing? I think every day now you find out another restaurant is shut down.
Yeah.
And those are jobs.
Right.
And then the NRG Stadium is shut down. Minute Maid Park is shut down. The Toyota Center is shut down. No concerts. And those were jobs for people. And now all of those jobs are gone. And now we have baseball now. They're talking about playing baseball next month. And the owner has already stated now
What?
that he's expecting to see fans at the game.
Really?
Now that's what he says. Would you go to a baseball game next month?
Oh gosh,
No.
it's such a tough one because I love baseball.
Free tickets?
Free? Heck yeah.
You would take a chance to go out to the ballpark with some free tickets?
I'm thinking, yeah.
Well, I don't know. I don't know how safe. I don't know how safe it would be. How safe it would be.
I don't know.
What was that comment? Go back to it.
I didn't see
Oh,
it.
okay. I didn't. Go ahead. But do
Somebody
you think it
said
would
they
be
didn't want to hear.
about what?
What did it say, Dave? Sorry, we were looking at the comments.
Oh, we want the comments.
Great to see you offering
Oh, comment. Okay.
resources to your audience.
That's Liz Alleman. Liz Alleman.
Hi, Liz. Thank you. We'll do what we can. Share with us any information that you can, and we'll do our best to share it with others.
Right.
Actually, and I'm glad we saw that comment, because any resources that are out there, please post it on these pages, because we really want for people to have resources in respect to being safe, keeping each other safe,
And we don't care about you disagreeing with us.
yeah. And if you disagree with us, you know.
We understand. That's
the word.
Now, so the other thing, but going back to the baseball part, the owner of the team, Jim Crane, the Astros have Major League Baseball has a deal now. The gift shop is also open downtown. You go to the gift shop, Dave.
Okay.
Get your Astro cap or whatever. The gift shop is open daily. They have tours open daily, if I'm correct. But they're going to start playing baseball next month. That's what the plan is. But how safe do you feel about going to a baseball game in Minute Maid Park?
So I guess it depends. Is it like a sold out stadium, like we,
It's going to be sold out.
So
There's going to be some spacing going on.
if we can have that space, and I don't know. I really want to see a game, but I don't know. I guess.
But with the commissioner, see, this is what gets scary now. The commissioner and the mayor and now the governor, what's his name again?
Abbott.
The governor said, he feels that it's safe to stay. He feels safer if you stayed at home.
Sure.
But you have the owner saying, hey, I need the money. I made this investment. My team is going back to work. I need people in the ballpark.
Yeah. That's a tough one. You know, again, I think that people need to make a personal choice.
Yes.
You know, what's
I think it's great that you'll be able to see the games on television.
yeah.
And they're going to have different rules in regards to how they make things safe for the players, with how often they use the baseball, how long, how many plays the game ball is in play before they change to another ball and all that type of thing. But many people are like you and I. They want to see baseball. We just deal with baseball now. They want to see it, but they are reluctant when you ask them would you go to a game with distance in between fans. Many don't think it's safe.
What about pay-per-view? Is that not an option to do?
Yeah, you get that on cable. You get the games on cable. The games, you can pick the games up. That's why I say you can watch the games.
Yeah.
And see, right now on ESPN, they're bringing in games from Korea, from China. The games are coming in from other places, and they're playing sports in other places. In fact, we had a Houstonian who hit 55 points in a game in China the other night. Joe Young out of Yates High School, who plays over in China, hit 55 points. So they're bouncing basketballs over there. But again, we're talking about Houston.
Mm-hmm. I don't know. I guess it's a personal choice. You know, it's a personal choice, and people have to use their, make wise decisions for what's best for them and their loved ones.
If it's anything like restaurants, you talked about restaurants closing.
Right.
I opted to go to a couple of restaurants after they opened it back up. One of them I'd go back to and one I wouldn't, because I know the other one wasn't taken care of. They didn't clean properly. I felt, kind of weird being there. And that's why they had to close so many restaurants, is that management didn't take it serious. And I think with sports, it's so important that management takes it serious.
Yeah.
Right. Now, what's that question? That's Liz again. It may not be up to the fans to decide games should start. How many players have tested positive? Quite a few so far, but the owners and Major League Baseball, the owners in Major League Baseball have agreed to play starting next month. It's not, it really doesn't, the thing about the fans is, will the fans be allowed to come to the games? But the Astro owner has indicated he can't really do this without the fans. He really can't do this without the fans. Okay? So
You're falling out. Right?
Yeah, that's okay. So that's what happened. That's what's going on with the fans. They're not asking the fans should they play again. They've already decided they're going to play again. So you want to get that point.
So it's just against. I guess it's just up to us whether we decide to go or not. But again, you got to think about you got to consider that what safety precautions, as Dave said, are they cleaning up where you feel comfortable? Is there sanitizing going on after each game? And then you have the food court, and there's a lot of
well. The thing that gets me about going to these restaurants is the few that I've stopped in, they have masks on. Now that's what I find to be quite different than you taking your mask off to eat, but they're still waiting on you with their mask on, so you get to wondering just how safe it is.
Well, it's funny you say that, because I was talking to my daughter. I mentioned before that she's in the food service industry, and they wear a mask, to wait on people. So she's, saying if we get sick, it's the customers. We're taking precautions, and we're, wearing the necessary, taking the necessary safety precautions. But if the servers are getting sick or the bartenders are getting sick, it's really because the customers, you can't wear a mask while you're eating or drinking.
Right.
I did see the mask with the straw in it, though.
Oh, yeah?
One of those.
Yeah, well, but you haven't saw a mask where you could put a spoon or a fork to it, right?
I did see one that was a zipper and you could unzip it, so I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, but see, like I said, you feel safe in some places, then in some you don't feel safe, and but that mask thing throws you off time you come. At least me. Time I come into the restaurant, and I see someone come to wait on me with a mask. First thing comes to mind again is the virus, or how safe is this place? Right.
Yeah. What do you think, Dave?
Well, there's a lot of things to consider, but again, it goes back to, does management really consider it a serious thing enough to do it the right way? And I think there's an awful lot of restaurants, a lot of places that you go where they kind of slough it off, and that's dangerous, real dangerous. I mean, I saw a thing the other day where the mask is good. Don't get me wrong, and I'm saying wear the mask, but only a small percentage is blocked by the mask.
Yeah.
So just being in proximity is what it really is bad about.
Right.
Don't spit on people when you're talking.
Yeah, really. I'll try not to. We're going to take a break again and do a commercial or so, and we'll be back with more of Hot Topics on BNET Radio.
So I actually, up until this week, did not know anybody personally who had been infected by the virus.
Oh, you
And
know somebody now?
I know somebody now, and so this individual went to a bar, and the bartender was infected, and locally actually pretty nearby, and the bartender was infected, and 20 people became infected, and I don't know if it was immediately as a result of that individual. So I don't know what safety precautions the bar took. I wasn't there, but I do know that the bartender was positive, and thus 20 other people from that situation were infected. So it's kind of funny because I had a lunch meeting today, and my friend says, let's meet over here in this area, and I said, oh yikes! The first thing that I thought about was, wait, that's where they had that that mass infection. I don't know if I want to go down that street. It's contaminated, so.
And we are going to play a little more music for you in this break. For those folks that need their Tejano fix, what can I say? Here's La 45 with Little Joe on BNET Radio.
So thank you again for all those who are watching live. This is our personal opinion, so we do welcome your feedback, and I don't claim to be the absolute most knowledgeable person. This is just my opinion, and Ralph's opinion, and Dave's opinion, and we welcome your comments. Respectfully, I respect everybody's opinion, whether you agree with me or not. So disagree with me if you choose, and you're more than welcome to. Let's talk about it. If you disagree, let's talk about it.
Bring that up. Get ready to deal with that one.
Okay.
You want to hear?
She's chewing the other guy out for saying.
Some of us do want these issues discussed.
So thank you for your comments, Jose. And if you don't want to hear our take on the social issues,
Well, we want to say hello to Jose anyway. We want to say hello to Jose, Luis, Guzman, Pineda.
So thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate your feedback.
Yeah. Thank you, Liz.
And thank you, Liz. So again, if we want to, so the human trafficking and actually we haven't touched on human trafficking. So that's one of the things that I'm really wanting to address in the future, and I'm actually thinking about, I'm actually planning to volunteer at a location where that deals with human trafficking survivors. And the reason for that is because you have to wonder, so many things are going on behind the scenes that, we're so worried about the disease, and we, people are on high alert. And then with the issues that we, with the protesting and the subsequent rioting, there's so much going on that we're not being alert to, and I think that also one of the things that I read actually yesterday about the protest, it was an article that stated it's a hotbed for homegrown terrorism, for domestic terrorism. And the reason for that is kind of what you were talking about, that everybody's wearing a mask, so it's really difficult to decipher who the bad guys are and who the good guys are, because people, really good people are trying to do the right thing, but we no longer, we can see so much about an individual based on the looks on their face, or their demeanor, or their personality. And right now, we don't know if somebody's smiling or frowning.
We don't know whether Ralph is really that ugly or not.
Oh,
no.
Ralph is a beautiful person.
I'm going to put my mask on for him. Just for him.
I love Ralph Cooper. What's funny though is
15
that
seconds.
everybody I say your name to is like, oh yeah, I know Ralph Cooper. So I think everybody knows.
Thank you.
BNET Radio, a vital force in the Tejano music industry. You're on the special show that we have every Thursday called Hot Topics Live with Sonia Rivera and Ralph Cooper, and we got some hot topics going today. Go ahead.
Right, I want to just say this mask again. I know you envy this. You want one of these?
I want one.
I know you do. I don't know
I
about
think it
him.
makes you look great.
Well, thank you. I'll just take that off, since I know that's the opposite coming out of your mouth. I'll take it back off. But you mentioned human trafficking.
Yeah.
So you're working with that?
I intend to start. It's something that I really think is there was so much attention being brought to it before the shutdown, before COVID really impacted us the way it has, and so I was really happy to see the traction that it was picking up to where people were aware of it, because with social media, and I think more so now that our kids are on social media so much more now because of, well, when it's summer and then they're not in an actual school setting, that, you know, there's a lot of predators out there just, you know, utilizing the opportunity to take advantage of our kids, or to potentially suck our, you know, our youth, our young people into that. We need to be cognizant of that.
Well, I became aware of it. Believe it or not, I may not look like it. I watch a lot of the Lifetime channel. And the Lifetime channel has dealt with that for years. At one time, they had a 4-hour series, a 4-hour television special, movie special, with Donna Sutherland, the great actor, and they were dealing with that, with the human trafficking and how it went. It was just not on the ground, but how it involved big business people.
Yeah.
And it went all over the world. Then they had another one that really hit me. It dealt with two young ladies who were on the internet, and they met this guy on the internet, and then they made him mad, and he lured them to meet him so he could make an apology.
Yeah.
But what he did was he set them up to be a part of a human trafficking scheme. He had some guys there who were involved in that.
Yeah.
And one of the young ladies was able to escape, and the other one, they never found her.
Yeah.
They threw her in the trunk, and the brutal force of what they did. I mean, how did she mentioned something about her mother, and the guy took his fist and just knocked her out, and they threw her in the trunk and took off, and they killed the guy who was the go-between, and they never knew how to. They had no information on how to meet these, how to find her. They never found the young lady again, and these were teenagers. So
Yeah.
I understand that that's a good thing you're doing.
So if there's anything that I guess we want the audience to know, whether you're live streaming or listening, is talk to your kids. You know, talk to your nieces, your nephews. It's not only females that get trafficked. It's boys too. So we need to really educate our kids on continue the conversation on the dangers of social media and how easy it is for predators to prey on our children. Teach them, you know, the signs to look for, and make sure that we're watching what they're doing. And
Garcia?
yeah,
Ilsa Garcia says human
danger.
trafficking is huge here in Houston. Since we are close to the borders, kids are on Facebook and other sites and get tricked to meeting young men who turn out to be traffickers. And you know, that brings, go back to another movie. Have you seen the movie Taken?
Yes.
That
was good.
That when she put that comment in there about the young men, remember that's how his daughter and her friend got took when they landed over in Paris or wherever they were.
Yeah, it was kind of, they thought he was a handsome young man, and he turned out to be an older guy.
Yeah, and led the real gangsters or the real traffickers to them, and one of them ended up dying.
Yeah, and then last week there was actually on the news, they had arrested a guy from Las Vegas who was bringing in prostitutes from Las Vegas, but he was actually, it wasn't like your average like Vegas prostitution, because over there it's legal, right?
Right.
So he actually
Well, that's why he moved his operation here. He thought he could get away with it here.
Yeah.
Although it's illegal here.
But he ended up getting charged for murder because one of them he killed one of them.
Right.
I don't know all the details, but yeah. So Houston, to Ilsa's point, Houston is a hub for human trafficking because of its proximity to the border, and also because there's so many major interstates.
Right.
Interstate 10 and Interstate 15, which is now 69. And 45, so there's all these major routes out of the state. So we are a hub for human trafficking and narcotics. So, you guys don't be, and I understand that everybody's on high alert because of COVID, but we also have to be cognizant that these other things are happening.
Well, and we have to be conscious of this also. This is why sports on the high school and the middle school level with the youngsters is so important, because in many cases it keeps them out of situations where they can get involved with crime. And now you've got 2 school districts that have started back athletic practices for boys and girls outside. I'm told they can start training, but now they've pulled back. The school districts have pulled back because the virus is going up. The Cy-Fair district, if I'm correct, and the HISD. So those are huge now, because those teams, in many cases, are family to those young people.
Absolutely.
And so when I see the news sometime and I see a car chasing a guy gets out, I see a great halfback running, or point guard or defensive back. No, but I'm saying when you look at how some of these people can run, and then you say, and then in some cases you find out, oh yeah, he used to play ball at blah blah blah, and he went the other way.
You know, this is a conversation I had over lunch. One of the things that COVID has taught us is that, the value of we have to engage with our family. And I feel like so many of the social issues that we have is because we don't have dinner with our families anymore. We don't have that quality time with our children. We don't share our family stories. And a real good friend of mine was telling me, he's a musician, and he was talking to me about how blacks have been instrumental in every music genre, whether it's a blues and jazz, rock and roll. And it's something that's lost on our young people. And it was kind of interesting because we were at a bar and he tested it, and he asked, there was some young black men, and he invited one of them over, and he said, hey, do you know, he called out some names that such and such invented, the blues. And the guy's like, that's cool.
Yeah,
so it's lost.
And
so we're losing, our children are not being told these stories, these rich cultural stories that gives us our identity. Growing up, I knew the stories about the Mexican and Hispanic heroes, and I feel like we're not sharing that with our young people.
Well, a lot of things are not happening. I mean, everybody wants to eat out now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember when all the young ladies knew how to fix a good chicken and some collard greens and sweet potatoes. And it was probably, when was the last time you made a good enchilada? I'm talking about you. See, that's what I'm saying. But see, those traditions are not being passed down anymore.
Yeah.
Going back to the music thing, we go back to the family thing. People eat out now, 5 out of, where they were. Now it's changed because of the virus. They were eating out 5 or 6 times a week.
Yeah, those of us that didn't know how to cook had to seriously learn.
Right. So how do you get that? How do you regain that? Or is it regainable? Is it something people want to do again? Like you said, that people used to meet on Sunday and have a big dinner.
Yeah.
And all that type of stuff. But in recent years, you don't see that anymore.
We need to get back to that. Dave mentioned your grandmother lived to be 109. Grandfather. And my lunch meeting, my friend was telling me that his grandmother is just celebrated her 111th birthday.
Right.
And she looked extremely healthy, and I just got a little emotional because I thought, gosh, the stories that this lady can tell.
Right.
She must have been born in the early 1900s, and imagine the storytelling that she could share with grandchildren and great grandchildren of how things were. And because I really think that history repeats itself, and we have to know those stories.
Well, I know we're getting ready to shut down. I got to leave in a minute. But next week, this time, do you think the numbers will be down in regards to what's happening with the virus here in Houston?
Yes, because everybody's going to take responsibility this weekend.
Really? You think people are going to take more responsibility?
I hope so.
And see, then you see the president. The president blames, he said, I listened to him closely. He said, all the cities that are going up had Democratic mayors. But now this is the state of Texas is a Republican state, right?
Right.
Now do you think he's going to say...
We do have a Democrat mayor.
I know. I didn't say we didn't. I said, but do you think he's going to say, because we have a Republican governor, that the spike is going up? Or something to refer to the party affiliation?
I try not to speculate without facts.
Well, with the president, how can you not?
Well,
I mean, what happened to his crowd up in Oklahoma? Did some young people really sabotage that and fake like they were coming to the event, got on the computer and filled out a bunch of applications like they were coming, or was that made up also?
Yeah, people do some crazy things.
Yeah, it makes you wonder, what can you believe? What can you believe about this guy, right?
Well, everybody has the propensity to stretch the truth a little bit.
When you're a politician, you have license to do that.
Let's talk about corruption. Yeah. So next week on Hot Topics, we're going to talk about government corruption.
Well, I know where we can go, right?
Absolutely.
I don't have 3 hours available.
No, I know you don't. But I think people more people, I think what I got out of his crowd the other night, although the building was not packed, I see a lot of people voting. And I can understand, I was surprised that many people showed up in that building also, because I didn't think that building would be full.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about what President Trump was in
Sure.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Sure.
But I also get the indication that people are going to vote in November. I mean, because look at what's happening. Why do people vote? When they want to change, right?
Right.
When it affects them where?
So I know you got to run, but,
No problem. I'll wait for you.
before we shut down, so I really want to encourage people to vote locally, because I know so many people are hyper-focused on Trump. I literally cannot say anything on my social media without somebody turning it into a Trump issue, and most of the things that I talk about are not even related to Trump. But I really ask people to focus on your local elections, because it starts at the bottom. It starts here. What happens in your daily life starts with your mayor, your city council members, your commissioners, your county judge, your judges, your DA. So please, please, please start with, don't ignore those elections. Your judges and your commissioners and your local leadership is what impacts your life every single day. So please, please, please do not ignore those elections.
And I agree with everything you just said, but can I ask you one thing? Do you all want the statues down? You know, you black, I mean, you see people, many blacks and others are stepping up in regards to the statues. Are Hispanics involved in that also?
I think that we need to do an intelligent assessment of which statues, because I can understand where some would be offensive, but I also think that it's a tool to educate. So I think that, you know, we can add to make it an educational opportunity, as instead of glorifying it, educating people on what, you know, how far we've come, but also, you know, and maybe some have to come down. But the other thing is, don't take down statues of, you know, I understand that George Washington was a slave owner, for example, but he was also the first president of the United States. So what he did was right? No. But in the context of the time that he lived in, that's what, I'm not saying it's okay, but we have to spin the narrative and talk about why he's significant.
It is history.
Yeah, but not glorify that you know.
But would you put a statue of Santa Ana outside of the Alamo? Would you put a statue of Santa Ana outside the Alamo?
Well, he was defeated. No.
But if it wasn't for Santa Ana, you wouldn't have had anything to take from it, or to get him to give you. I'm just asking. I mean, if you didn't have him by the, you know what's, he wasn't going to sign the place over anyway.
And if Christopher Columbus had never come to America, we would still all be indigenous people.
I saw the other day where they were talking about taking down the big statue of Sam Houston.
Yes, yeah. And he had 2 or 3 families.
Yeah.
2 or 3 different kind of families, right? Hispanic.
Well, see, he was equal opportunity.
A Native American and of course Caucasian. He was equal. You know, he was somewhat like the guy over in Tanzania. A guy in Tanzania, right quick, was a miner, small-time miner. He just hit for like 4 or 5. He just became a millionaire. But guess how many children he has?
He can't support him.
He got 30 children.
Oh my goodness.
He's named Biondi. Only he's in Tanzania.
You never know.
Thank you. I'm out of time.
Thanks, Ralph.
Thank
See you
you.
next
Thank you,
week.
Ralph, and Sonia, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sonia.
Thank you.
You always do a great job, and we appreciate you very much. Here on BNET Radio, we'll be back next week for Hot Topics Live, next Thursday afternoon at 3 p.m. Central.
Can you shut that? Can you push the finish button? Right here on that.